Uyo uko kuno apo pano mamu wanna get it nice.
Right, 5 December 2021, and today I'm joined by my usual guest, Mr. Pangane Mhlanga. How are you, sir?
No, I'm good. How are you, my brother? Pardon. It's been a long time, eh? It's been
Yes,
a long time.
I'm so sorry about your brother. What has been happening with that situation?
Oh, it's tragic, man. It happened. I think, this month of November, sometimes, unexpectedly, it was tragic. It was an accident. He was hit by a taxi right here in South Africa. So the body is leaving on Monday. So, yeah, it was tragic. Thank you very much for the condolence messages. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about that, and I hope that was he married?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was married. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So his family is here in South Africa.
Yeah, the other family is here in South Africa. The other family is back there in Zimbabwe. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry about that, my brother. I think let us go straight into this a very, very important topic, and I'm happy that you are assisting me to give people clarity on the situation, the Zimbabwe exemptions permit.
Yeah.
You know that there was a new directive that was issued last week in which the South African cabinet is said to have announced that Zimbabweans are going to be allowed to bank, to go to school, to work, to travel with the expired Zimbabwe exemption permit. Is this document genuine?
From my own opinion, it is genuine, but constitutionally speaking about these permits, when you look at the South African Constitution itself, we do not know how it's going to play out, and it's a wait and see situation from now. But constitutionally speaking, the Constitution of South Africa does not actually allow a person to be working if they do not have a permit. I think,
yeah.
I think the support for the extension is probably coming from the issue with regards to the Human Rights Bill and also the human rights laws that were set up by the Geneva Convention. So let's see how it will play out and see how people will respond to that, because that's another challenge. The South Africans themselves.
Yeah. You know why I'm asking you if it's genuine? Right now, what I'm displaying is the document from 2017 when the Zimbabwe exemption permit came into place and they moved on from the ZSP. At this particular time, it was automatic that if you were on the ZSP, if you applied, you will get the ZEP. But at the present moment, it's not automatic that if you apply, you will get a permit. So my concern is if you go to the bank, there are some people that don't even qualify to apply. Yeah. So automatically these people are being told to leave the country. Is that not the situation?
That's the situation. Remember, this is now political because it's a response from ANC. What is happening right now? It's more political. It's a response because you saw what happened with the previous municipality elections. They lost because another candidate came up with the narrative and the sentiments which was against foreigners. I'm talking specifically about Herman Mashaba. So the stance of ANC towards foreigners has changed, is changing, and they're preparing themselves for 2024 elections. So they are setting themselves up now. This is now more political, and it's very dangerous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the issue of where do these people apply from? Here in this particular permit, in this particular directive, it says you must have proof of a VFS receipt. Does this mean automatically you are allowed to apply from South Africa?
I'm not quite sure now with this this new standing now, right now. I'm not quite sure, but we're going to investigate. But it seems right now you have to apply when you're within South Africa as it stands. But the permit, the expiration of the permit itself is going to be a problematic for a lot of people.
Okay, all right, I do agree.
I'm not
I
sure
do agree that it will be problematic.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the issue of banks. How is the bank going to allow you to operate your bank if you've not applied? Because there's some people who don't even qualify to apply. How will the banks allow you to operate?
The bank,
because you are still within the 12 months grace period, but you haven't applied. Does that mean the bank closes your account?
They might. Remember, the bank also operate on its own policies that are based on the constitution. Then normally, most of the time, they do not work with directives like that directive with an extension. So some banks might allow that, some banks might not, but we're not quite sure. But remember, banks, they've got their own internal policies that they work with. So
but they won't allow you to bank without a legal document in South Africa.
That's the constitution. That's what the constitution requires them to do. So it's going to be difficult. So that one is a directive, but the constitution, remember, the permit is expired. So you find that most of the banks, I would love to believe that most of the banks will not allow people to bank based on their internal policies as well. Remember, with banks, they calculate the risk, right? There's a lot of things that to take into consideration about allowing people to come amongst their customers over a 12 months period. So you find that the internal policies of the bank might actually override that directive.
Okay, great. And then let's go to jobs.
Yeah.
Will a company employ a Zimbabwean who has not applied, who does not qualify? Because remember, to get a job in South Africa, there must be proof that there is no South African who qualifies for that job. If the Zimbabwean is still applying for his permit, will the employer not fire a Zimbabwean who doesn't have a permit?
For now, it's a wait and see situation, but I would like to believe most companies will continue to employ Zimbabweans based on that permit, because there's a 12-month grace period. But the challenge that we might have is the enforcement and also other sectors from the economy that might want to enforce the expiration before the expiration itself. So it's going to be a challenge, because we're going to see some the labor organization also visiting these companies, trying to check how many Zimbabweans are being employed by such an organization who have got a permit that is expiring or is expired. And they might want to enforce it before it actually happened. So they are setting themselves up, because remember, we have to understand why the cabinet decided to go for the 12-month grace period, because the issue is they need to understand exactly what is going on and how it is going to affect the South African economy itself, because they have got no idea. If they had an idea how it's going to affect the South African economy, they would have just said 31 December, that's it. Then they move on with their lives and say everybody who doesn't have any permit is going to be deported, or they get another permit. But there are options here with the payments. For example, the critical skills payments. That's another option. But I do not know how many Zimbabweans are going to qualify for those critical skills payments. That's a challenge.
Okay, then I want to show you something here, and then I'll take you to my next question.
All right.
In respect to the renewal of ZEP, as we have seen what's happening on social media. So our call to the holders of ZEP is that as the leadership, we are in consultation with a number of stakeholders, as we have done over the years, to see what is possible and what is not possible in working around the decision that has been announced, because we are not challenging the decision by the South African cabinet.
Okay, that you saw that one, right? I want to show you another one.
Tine urombo kuti tine vanhu vadona vangaite 16 mushure mekunge vaudzwa kuti mapepa ekugara muSouth Africa eZimbabwe exemption permit haasi kuzopiwa patsva. Tine urombo tinovashuvira kuti vapore kune avo vadona. Zvichida mumwe anga aine imba yebond, vanhu vanga vatenga dzimba dzebond, vanhu vanga vatenga dzimba dzebond, vamwe vanga vakwereta zvinhu zvinoda kuti zvinge zvichiripwa. Haungasiye imba yawanga wagara makore 10 waakuisiya nenyaya yekuti zvanzi mapemiti aexpire. Zvinhu zvinonzwisa urombo kuti munhu anga asenza makore 10 achibhadhara imba, wosvika pakunzi aiwa chidzokera kumusha kwako, hauchakodzera kuti unge uchigara munyika yeSouth Africa. Zvinhu zvinoshungurudza zvikurusa. Totarisira kuti hurumende yeSouth Africa ichanyevenutsa izamewo kuti ione kuti inoita sei nevanhu ivavo. Kune vana vakangokurira munyika yeSouth Africa vasina kumwe kwavanoziya. Hurumende inofanirwa kuti ifunge nezvevana ivavo, kuti vanofanirwa kunge vaitwa sei vana ivavo. Vana vasina kumwe kwavanoziya, vana vakazvarirwa munyika yeSouth Africa. Zvisinei, kune avo vakaenda kumacourts taakutongomira nemi because ndo zvasara chete. Isusu vekungotaudzana nehurumende tichange tichitaurawo nehurumende zvine mwoyo munyoro. Vari kumakotsiwo vachiita saizvozvo vanoziya kuti pamutemo zvii zvange zvifanirwa kuitwa nehurumende yeSouth Africa. Tinoziva kuti hurumende yeSouth Africa ihurumende yekuti kumakotsi kukatonzi vanhu ngavapuwa mapemits, hurumende yeSouth Africa inote.
Right. So the reason why I played these two videos is I want to go to the point of who is responsible for communicating with the South African government. You had my brother Mabena there at the top, and my brother Juru. They are all saying they're communicating with the South African government. Who is speaking on behalf of the ordinary Zimbabwean who is on ZEP permit?
I think Mabena might be more responsible to indulge with the South African government with regards to that. And the other guy, I'm not sure about some of the information that he disclosed with regards to the permits when he spoke about having a house. I'm not sure about that. If you can buy a house using that permit, I'm not sure about that. But Mabena, from my side, what he said, because this is a sovereign nation, South Africa is a sovereign nation, they've got a right to exercise this law. They do have that right to do that. That's why they've put the 12-month grace period to understand exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to affect them.
Okay. So basically, the Zimbabwean government right now, there's nothing they can do about this situation except to watch and see.
Well, there are two scenarios, you know that. I believe that the Zimbabwean government will actually want to have their people back in Zimbabwe to develop Zimbabwe. And there are two scenarios. If Zimbabweans are going to be deported back to Zimbabwe, the other scenario, the first one is if things don't go well, there will be a revolt against the government, or if things go well, people will actually concentrate and at the same time develop Zimbabwe. Because remember, Param, when you look at it, how many skilled labor that is outside Zimbabwe that is not actually developing, working towards the development of Zimbabwe, you know? So Zimbabwean government is taking a stance right now and sit and watch. But when it comes to issues regarding human rights abuse, if it's going to be a problematic, I think South Africa is setting itself on a confrontational path with SADC with regards to this. We'll see how it will play out, because we are not quite sure how it will play out, because there will be massive deportations and they have to be done according to the law.
Okay, I do not think South Africa has got the capacity to deport 200,000 people. What I think, and this is my opinion, is that they have decided to remove people slowly using this directive that they've issued, because once you don't apply within the 12 months, your employer is going to fire you, your bank is going to stop giving you banking services, your school is going to stop allowing you to study. You have to move to a different payment. And I think this is their way of removing people slowly from the system. But to say they can deport 200,000 people, how many buses is that?
It could be done in a long period of time. But like what you said, I agree with you 100%. They do not have the capacity to do that. But what we have to ask ourselves, how many Zimbabweans actually qualify for the critical skills permits? Because that's what they're asking us to move towards. Critical skills.
The critical skills permit only has a limit. Or I think every year they've got less than 500 people required. They don't have, it's not an unlimited number of permits. So my belief is that here the South African government and the cabinet specifically, they are being dishonest. I do not think what they're communicating here is what they mean. Because what permit can take 200,000 Zimbabweans? There's no other permit which has got space. Because there are limits, every permit has got a number every year, which they say every year, maybe if they say skilled permits, computer science, 50, engineering, 20, it's not unlimited.
Yes.
And also, most of the people who are on these skilled ZEP permits are not qualified people. They are people who work in the, let's say, construction sector, Uber drivers, people who work in the houses, and so on. These are the people with this. Yeah.
That's not a critical skill. Remember, like I said previously, this is more political. There's a message that is being sent to the South African people by doing this. Because I think if you go to when that 2017 permit was actually released on the South African level.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I think I've lost my guest here. And I think what he was speaking about here is when this permit of ours was issued, the ZEP from the ZSP, the communication was very clear. Even VFS, they sent out communication to say what was supposed to be done by when it was supposed to be done. So I think while I'm waiting for Pangana to come back, let's look at the comments. If it doesn't come back, we're going to have to shut this down. Pangana is back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I dropped that one when I was trying to open the from my side.
Because, okay, no problem.
So yeah, when you look at the Home Affairs, the website, when they issued the ZEP permit, right, they said that the contribution towards the economical development of immigrants in South Africa is very vital to them, regardless of what a person will be doing. So the question we should be asking ourselves is, what has changed now? If they've acknowledged it, that they need to give people permits, what has changed now? So what has changed is the politics. So there's that hard stance down that needs to be shown to the South African public, because remember, ANC is now preparing for 2024 elections. And they need to show that. And they need to regain the majority based on that. So it's more political now.
Okay, what about the fact that unemployment rate was announced to be at 46% last week?
Okay, unemployment rate for me is always subjective. That's good, but when you look at the unemployment rate, we really need to actually separate people who are actually looking for work and they are willing to work. There's a whole bunch of people who are part of the unemployment rate. Even if we give them jobs that they are qualified to do, they just don't want to do the job. So 46%, yes, that it is what it is. But we are looking at a figure that is not correct. I think that is the problem with African countries. I think it actually affects the whole of the world when you look at the unemployment rate. I think you know what happens here. Because somebody can be asked to do trenches. You ask people to do trenches, they don't want to do it. So they still remain part of the unemployment rate. So that part of those people are people who do not want to work at all. So we are probably looking at 20% of the unemployment rate. The other 26%, even if you give them jobs, they don't want to work. So let's concentrate on people who are let's concentrate on people who are actually looking for work, but they cannot find it. And those are the people that we should be concentrating. And the bench, they don't want to work. So
okay, I want to say something about what you are saying now, and about South Africans in general. Firstly, there are certain jobs that South Africans are not qualified to do, and these jobs are like engineering, architecture, in the construction sector. If you look in the banking sector of South Africa, Zimbabweans are dominating in IT, even in investment banking. Mostly Zimbabweans are dominating in those areas. If you look in the audit field, Zimbabweans are dominating. If you look in the construction field in this country, Zimbabweans are dominating. If they were to implement this directive to remove South Africa, there will be no single house that has got a domestic worker who is legally here in South Africa, because most of the domestic workers that are here who work in South Africa, they are on this permit. Similarly, the guy who fixes your plumbing, the guy who puts up your solar panel, the guy who cleans your garden, these guys are on ZEP permits. And I said this before the lockdown. This is a totally bad move by the South African government. And I see that, I believe they are going to reverse this decision. But as you are saying, there's an election in 2024.
Yes, that's correct.
And this is the game changer. This is what makes this particular time we are in different from any other time. So I don't think a person from Zimbabwe should ignore this directive and say, I'll stay in South Africa. Something could happen which could result in a lot of Zimbabweans leaving, especially the way you said it, people moving in and taking control. So not the government, but other parties. Like what has happened in the truck driving industry. It's not government that is enforcing the removal of foreigners. It's actually unions in that sector that are enforcing the removal. So I don't think Zimbabweans should take this lightly and say, we'll be here, we'll be able to stay. It may not be that easy to stay here.
Yeah, correct. You're 100% correct there. Because this is a confrontational approach, like what you said, South Africa has done. And when it comes to these critical skills, right, it goes back to the education system right here in South Africa, right? They have not been preparing their people for this. So they're going to need another probably maybe 10 years to start preparing. But I think I've seen the curriculum right now. It's preparing children right now towards those things right now. So there's a shift now. But for now, they will still need people who are qualified in those jobs, engineers, as you said. That's why they have got a long list of the critical skills. I think it's about 5 pages, 6 pages of requested critical skills. So if they've been preparing their students for that for the past 10 years, so it has been the problem with the South African government themselves. They did not prepare for this. Now they have to respond now. They have to respond now on a political basis now, because now this is now politics, because now the ANC is in a survival mode, because this is it's self-preservation that they are in right now. So they're going to respond in however they're going to respond, and it's all about surviving in at whatever cost it's going to be.
Okay, so I want us to wrap this up. Let's look at the question by Joe Chimi. Is the court challenge by those Zimbabwe guys too going ahead? That court challenge is not going ahead as far as I'm concerned. From what I heard, they decided to negotiate. But when they pulled back on that court challenge, the South African cabinet then proceeded to issue that directive to say Zimbabweans must leave within 12 months. So 12 months was actually a compromise. The South African government was supposed to say leave on the 31st of December 2021. So the compromise was for Zimbabweans to be allowed to stay here until the end of 2022. And then with regards to the fact that why are Zimbabweans only being chased and not other countries?
That's correct. Thank you very much for that.
What do you think there?
I think the way we define foreigners based on the lesser of the foreigners, the batch of them. For starters, we have to define foreigners are defined as black people. That's the basics of foreigners in South Africa. But there are a lot of foreigners, white foreigners here that are not going to be affected by this. And they're not going to be affected at all. Then you look at the country where they are coming from and how rich that country is. Then you classify them. Then you look at the lowest of the foreigners. Those are the ones that you're going to victimize. And this is why it is targeting Zimbabweans, because we are the lesser of any other foreigner that is here in South Africa. So that's why we find ourselves in this position.
Okay. I think let us wrap this up, Pangana. And what I would like to say is, I do not think a Zimbabwean who is on this permit should be sticking around here. If you've got a chance, try other countries like Canada.
That's correct.
They've got a program there where they've opened up for farmers, people who work lower level jobs. Canada has opened up. They're also, obviously with the corona, I don't know whether you'll be able to get there, but they've opened up opportunities for you to go to those countries. UK is looking for people right now, a lot of people, drivers and so forth. And I think South Africa is not in the right place for Zimbabweans to stick around right now. If I was a Zimbabwean who was in this permit, I would leave. I saw someone asking here if Gambako is good.
Sorry, pardon. Can I say something? Or based on what you said? You know, this is not going to only affect the ZAP permits, right? Once it starts, even people on critical skills, right? We're going to be classified as one, because nobody can actually identify these separate permits based on what we are talking about. So like what you said, if you have got somewhere other areas to go, like myself, I'm preparing for that. You know, I'm on a critical skill permit, but I'm preparing for that because it's not going to affect the ZEP permits only. It's going to affect everybody, all foreigners, especially Zimbabweans. With regards to this one, it's going to affect more Zimbabweans. Because I think I saw a question which we spoke about. Lesotho is also on the same permit, but I have not heard what has happened with that permit. So, like I said, you see that you find the most vulnerable, then you get victimized on that, and it's pretty much unfortunate on our part as Zimbabweans.
Okay, I want to address the issue of where to go, and I think personally, I think we Zimbabweans should work together and make our way back to Zimbabwe. We can make it if we make a plan. It's possible.
I agree with you 100%. If we believe in one thing as Zimbabweans, we can do greater things. But the challenge that we have right now, you see, that's why I'm always maybe people will take it in a wrong way when you look at our situation in Zimbabwe, because people want to implement democracy, but democracy that we try to implement is based on textbook. It's theory. It's not actually individualized towards Zimbabwe. What is democracy? So when you look at it, even at the UK, right, they have democracy, but the Queen is in control. There must be there is a statement that says the Queen does not do anything, is not part of politics, but that's not true. That's their own democracy. They can only elect a prime minister, even in New Zealand, Australia, the United States of America. They've got two parties. It's either you vote for a Democrat or a Republican. So would you call that democracy? But it's this democracy that is actually tailor-made to their society. So our democracy that we are trying to do is open. Like here in South Africa, you see this is open democracy that has got no control whatsoever, and it divides the people. And we are so divided along those lines. And that's why we don't want to see each other. That's why you see people insulting each other because of democracy, because people want to look at the advantages, but nobody really wants to talk about these advantages of democracy at all. You see, it has to be tailor-made to what we want so that we achieve a common goal as Zimbabweans. That's what I believe.
Okay. Right. You know what, Mr. Pangana, I think let's close this. I see someone is asking for the link to Canada. You can Google it. It's there online. It's express entry to Canada. There's also the regional programs for Canada. Australia, UK, someone said Dubai here. There's so many places you can go. But I do not think that South Africa is the place right now. You saw what happened mid-year when there was violence. You don't want to be caught up in a situation where people are just saying, we don't want these people here, especially the ones with no permits. Do not cheat yourself that you get a permit, because if you go to Home Affairs now, the Home Affairs Department, the temporary residence section is closed. Maybe immigration agencies can go there, but temporary residence or foreign services sections are closed. So you most likely won't get this permit. If you apply, you most likely won't get it. If you're one of the people that are not very qualified. So I think people from Zimbabwe should be thinking about where else to go. And some should be thinking about, how do I get back home? Don't be caught in December trying to now rush back home, because getting deported is not easy, and it's not interesting at all. Don't think you're going to enjoy being deported from South Africa. When they start, especially the guys in Limpopo, they've been given 2 months to leave after the murder by that guy.
Yeah, Gumba Kumba unongokandwa then I think you saw a picture where somebody was deported from Varipamasowe. That's sad.
Okay, so I think let's summarize what we said here. We said that the document, the directive from the Department of Home Affairs, it's not clear, and it will be subject to interpretation, especially by banks. Banks may refuse to open your bank account or to keep your bank account open. So you might be called by a bank. For example, Capitec has already sent out a directive to say, if you don't have a permit, then we're going to close your account. They will only open that account if you show proof that you've applied. And if you apply, it doesn't mean you've got the permit. You most likely won't get that permit. You will not meet the requirements. But then we say that in terms of... Yes.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I got it. Go ahead. You can go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Then we say that in terms of Zimbabweans who are here, who are on ZEP permit, you are most unlikely to qualify for the next permit. And if possible, try to look for another country to go to, because this is not a normal situation. What is happening here is political. The ANC is losing power. They are under pressure to show the citizens that they're doing something. And they will try to enforce this. If they fail to enforce it, citizens are going to enforce the removal of Zimbabweans from South Africa under this particular directive. And it will not only affect Zimbabweans on ZEP, it will also affect Zimbabweans on other permits.
Yes, that's correct.
So I think we've concluded with this. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Yeah, I just like I love the fact that you mentioned that there are other areas, but now we still have got 12 months. So people should not be desperate now to jump into these people will be coming to you and say, we can take you to Canada and stuff like that, and fall victim of scams and stuff, because people are actually designing to scam people and take them to these areas under a scam or slavery and stuff like that. So people have to actually to be very, very careful when they are looking at other avenues from South Africa. That's all I want to say.
Okay, Isaac is saying he's with Capitec and he hasn't received the message. I'm with FNB and I've already received the message. So I don't know, maybe you're lucky that you haven't received it, but I have had to actually update my details a few weeks ago. So I don't know whether it is related to the fact that I'm Zimbabwean or what, but I did receive a message to say I must update my details.
Standard Bank has already sent also.
Right. So all I want to say is that there are some Zimbabweans who think they will somehow survive this situation and get away with it. Do not think that way. Like, plan with the worst case scenario in mind. Don't let anyone cheat you to say you're going to stay here without a permit. I don't think that's the right way of thinking. If you live that way, you won't have a house, you won't have a bank account, you won't have you won't be able to do a lot of things, and that is the problem. It's not normal.
You're right. Thank you very much. The message is clear. No permit, go back to your country. I think the message was very clear. We're going to deport you. It was very, very clear. And we got the message.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And what I will do is I'll keep following up on this story so that we will keep you guys updated. Every time there's a new development, we're going to be updating people. And then we're also obviously going to come up with a plan using the platform that we have to try and get people into certain projects so that when those who want to go back to Zim, you don't just go. So we'll obviously come up with a plan when it becomes necessary. Right now, we're still a bit far. Maybe after December, we'll come up with a plan.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir, and good night.
Thank you very much.
Ay, 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 ay.